Anisa Scott's grieving family will not need to worry about paying for a funeral.
That's thanks to a $10,000 donation made today.
Is CEO Amy Ahrens of Concerco, and she wanted to give Anisa, quote, the homegoing celebration that she deserves. And we tried reaching out to Ahrens today with no response, but the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club, Michael Johnson, spoke on her behalf this afternoon.
She didn't want any fanfare. She was just, she said, I wanted to utilize what resources that I have to be able to support this family. And so they were so thankful, and this is very thoughtful and generous of her to do such a thing.
From time to time, I look for updates for the stories which I have done part 1 for, and I was pleased to see that Anisa's family is closer to receiving justice, despite the fact that it won't bring her back. Subscribe, as there will be a final video, part 3, after each case, including sentencing, is completed. On May 20th, 2022, 18-year-old Andre Brown pled guilty to a lesser charge of first-degree reckless homicide as a party to a crime and 1 count of attempted first-degree intentional homicide as a party to a crime as a part of a plea deal. He was previously charged with 1 count of first-degree intentional homicide as a party to a crime and 1 count of attempted first-degree intentional homicide as a party to a crime, and entered a not guilty plea in October 2020. Brown's sentencing was scheduled for September 12, 2022. Prosecutors said they'd likely recommend that Brown be sentenced to 40 years in prison at his sentencing. The following week, on May 25, 2022, Perion Carrion answered yes ma'am and guilty when questioned by Dane County Circuit Judge Julie Genovese about whether he understood the charges against him and how he was pleading. The now 21-year-old pleaded guilty to being party to a crime of first-degree reckless homicide and party to a crime of attempted first-degree intentional homicide. As a result, prosecutors dismissed the felony bail-jumping charges and agreed to recommend he be sentenced to no more than 35 years in prison. Mirroring his co-defendants, he was originally charged with first-degree intentional homicide and attempted first-degree intentional homicide. Following the hearing, Anisa Scott's mother, Ashley Rios, declined to comment, saying she would release a statement when the cases against all 3 of the men charged had been resolved. The trial of the 3rd co-defendant, Jerry Ward, was moved to November 2022, with jury selection set for the 7th and the trial set to begin the following day. There is nothing in Carrion's or Brown's plea agreements that would require them to testify at Ward's trial, but District Attorney Ismail Ozan said they are subpoenaed and will be called as witnesses. Allegedly, Carrion told police that Brown and Ward fired on the Tahoe 2 separate times in the space of a few minutes. But in an amended criminal complaint, Ward was charged about a week after Carrion and Brown and claimed that Carrion fired on the Tahoe both times. Ward had also maintained that he was asleep in the back of the Optima when the gunfire started. At another hearing, Judge Genovese denied a motion by Ward's attorney to dismiss the homicide charge against him. 88 Dan Hess asserted that Ward had a gun on his lap and helped another person in the car clear a gun that had jammed. Documents in a separate federal case filed against Christopher Carthans, the man who was driving the Tahoe that Anisa was riding in, noted that Madison police believed he was being dishonest as he allegedly knew that he was a target and enlisted Anisa to travel with him to discourage anyone from shooting at him. The complaint included details about the investigation that had not been previously released by police or in a criminal complaint against the 3 co-defendants. At the time, law enforcement was considering arresting Christopher for obstruction of justice. They said his name had come up in the investigation of the Garner Park shooting and another incident on July 5th in which a home was shot several times. According to a petition to U.S. District Judge William Conley, which was filed by U.S. probation agent Jelani Brown, Carthens told him that he believed that when a car began following his vehicle before the shooting, it was because he had been mistaken for the older brother of a man who had stolen a significant amount of marijuana from a storage locker, substances that the man claimed to believe belonged to a cartel. Carthens also said the marijuana had been returned to its owners at the behest of a friend of Carthens. He told the agent that nonetheless, the cartel hired two people who were both later arrested for Anisa's death. Additionally, Christopher said a friend, someone who was with him in January when he was stopped by police for drunk driving, was allegedly beaten up by Maurice Bowman and others and sustained a broken eye socket. Bowman was shot to death several days later. Carthens denied being at Garner Park on Madison's west side on August 5, 2020, when shots were fired during a celebration of life held by family and friends of Bowman. Bowman had been shot to death on July 25th. Carthens believed that Bowman's death was in retaliation for the battery of Carthens' friend, the probation agent wrote. Christopher told him that the shooting put him in such a dark place, he attempted suicide. He said Anisa's mother and family blamed him for the 11-year-old's death. The man described his relationship with Rios as rocky, but said he hoped she would realize he had nothing to do with her daughter's death. A review of Christopher's criminal history showed that on May 15, 2012, him and others were involved in a violent armed home invasion in Madison. He was convicted of firearm possession by a felon in federal court in 2013 and sentenced to 5 years in prison, in addition to time he received for other then pending charges in Dane County. Carthens was released from prison on February 22, 2019 and began 3 years of supervised release. Following a drunk driving arrest and other alleged violations of his supervision, Carthens was ordered to appear before Judge Conley for a review hearing. His supervised release was revoked and he was given a time-served sentence for the 3 months he had spent in custody, along with a new 2-year period of supervised release. Christopher was monitored for drug use, and in July, a sweat patch that Carthens had worn as part of his supervision tested positive for cocaine use. He initially denied using drugs, but eventually admitted using cocaine and said that he was struggling mentally and emotionally. His agent said he would continue to monitor the situation while Christopher refrained from cocaine use and took part in job training. A subsequent report by his probation officer filed on August 27, 2020, after another positive drug test, recommended the revocation of Carthens' supervision. An additional report detailed unauthorized out-of-state travel by Christopher. Judge Conley sentenced him to 21 months in prison in September 2020 for violations of conditions of his federal supervision. I do hope that the family and friends of Anisa Scott are able to find solace in the happy memories, and I do look forward to them being able to find peace in knowing that justice had been served. Thank you.